to get free legal assistance for many types of law cases. And if you can't afford a solicitor, representing yourself in court can be daunting and stressful. That's where Mackenzie Friends come in, people who can provide practical guidance and emotional support. But with the market for professional Mackenzies now booming, there are concerns that some could be misleading or exploiting their clients.
People needed an alternative to solicitors who were extremely expensive and dominated their clients with a rod of iron.
Mackenzie Friends, I think, are a brilliant idea, but unfortunately there's people like him taking advantage of people like me.
They're clogging the courts, they run unnecessary arguments, they give false hope. They are the unlicensed minicab of the court world.
Blake is representing himself in an upcoming court case. Today he's come for a consultation with his Mackenzie friend, Nicola.
Hi, good morning. How are you? The pre-trial review, do you know what that is?
No,
right,
I don't.
A pre-trial review is where we all go along,
Right.
and it's been listed for just half an hour.
Okay, yeah.
As he has a full-time job, Blake doesn't qualify for legal aid, but still feels he needs help preparing his case.
It's a challenging process, mentally very challenging and very tiring. Obviously, in terms of financial funding, a solicitor isn't the cheapest of options. So I looked into other options and I stumbled across Nikki. Yeah, I feel like she was sent from above.
You never know what the judge is going to be feeling like.
Yeah.
And they go, no, we don't want any
Yeah.
witnesses here because it's going to take up too much of the court time, and therefore you don't get the witnesses there at all, none.
We've spoken about the cases ahead and what needs to be done in terms of paperwork. I've done a lot of research myself, but I can't do it without Nikki.
Nicola has been working as a professional Mackenzie friend for 15 years now.
On average, you'll pay about £250 plus VAT per hour for a solicitor. With me, you pay £89 an hour. So let's go to your application. I realised that there was a real imbalance in the system and there needed to be an alternative, and so that people didn't have to pay £5,000 a month every month for something which was very straightforward and an administrative task to all extents and purposes.
As a Mackenzie friend, Nicola doesn't have the same rights in court as a qualified solicitor, but she believes she still offers a valuable service.
For clients who have the support of a Mackenzie friend, it's great because it's more like moral support and being able to organise them, so it gives them confidence.
Anyone can act as a Mackenzie friend. You don't need any formal qualifications. The term dates back to a divorce case in 1970 called Mackenzie versus Mackenzie, after which it was ruled that everyone has the right to be supported in court by a friend or family member. And for many years, most Mackenzies provided that support free of charge. But since legal aid cuts came in 5 years ago, there's been an explosion of Mackenzie friends charging fees. There's no regulation in this corner of the legal marketplace, and making sure that the Mackenzie you hire is a help rather than a hindrance isn't easy. Solicitor Julian Bremner has faced several Mackenzies in family law cases and thinks that they often overstep the bounds of their original role.
Why would you trust something as important as your children and your relationship with your children or your future financial security to someone who has no real clue as to what they're doing most of the time? Quite often professional Mackenzie friends who have no training, no qualifications and actually very little experience have watched far too much American television, and they feel that they need to be adversarial, aggressive. They really put on a show for the poor sap who's paying them money. I'm thinking of one incident. The father in this case chose a professional Mackenzie friend who just poured fuel on the fire, and any chances of coming to a sensible resolution were blown out of the water. And the moment he sacked him, we'd made a deal in half an hour and ended it. But that would not have happened had that Mackenzie friend kept trying to aggravate matters.
The Law Society, which represents solicitors, also thinks that regulated professionals are a much safer bet for litigants.
There is a complaint system, which means that if the client is unhappy with a solicitor, then they can lodge a complaint with an independent body. If you instruct a Mackenzie friend, they do not necessarily have insurance. There's no regulatory system backing them up. So if something goes wrong, there is no redress for the client.
Things certainly went wrong for one litigant, who we're calling Beth, when she went to a family court to get an urgent injunction to restrict her ex-partner's access to their son.
I was advised by a domestic violence charity to go to a Mackenzie friend, which would allegedly save me a lot of money. He charged me £500 on the spot. He thought the best course of action was to go straight in with an injunction at the High Court. Turned out this was totally the wrong thing to do. They don't hear family matters at the High Court, so it was a complete waste of time.
When Beth finally got the injunction, it wasn't watertight enough and left her son at risk because the Mackenzie had filled in the paperwork incorrectly. The Mackenzie also failed to deliver the injunction in person to Beth's ex-partner to guarantee he'd received it.
The Mackenzie insisted he would go and knock himself and hand deliver it. The following day, when I asked him how he delivered it, he said he posted it through my ex's door, so again he's left me at risk by doing that.
Another hearing was scheduled, but by this time Beth was heavily pregnant and her Mackenzie friend told her that he would arrange for the case to be adjourned. But he tried to do this by post, just 2 days before the hearing.
The post takes 10 days before the court even open it, so they didn't even see his request to adjourn it. So the case actually went ahead. My ex-partner was there and I wasn't, which made it look like I just didn't turn up. And as a result of that, he managed to change some things in the order, which created upset for my son.
At this point, Beth decided to stop using the Mackenzie friend, and in desperation, she turned to a solicitor.
I'd used all my savings on the Mackenzie friend. I gave him £1,200 altogether. It cost me roughly another £2,500 after that to undo the mess that had been made by the Mackenzie friend. I had to beg, steal and borrow the money to do this. This is absolutely what I'd wanted to avoid in the first place.
Beth is now trying to get back some of her money by taking the Mackenzie friend to the small claims court.
It did make me feel extremely angry and extremely let down. Mackenzie friends, I think, are a brilliant idea. But unfortunately, there's people like him taking advantage of people like me.
Beth's bad experiences with a professional Mackenzie friend may not be typical, but there have certainly been several other rogue Mackenzies who've painted the profession in a bad light. In 2015, a former nightclub bouncer was barred from acting as a Mackenzie after verbally abusing a lawyer. And in 2016, paid Mackenzie David Bright was jailed for 12 months for perverting the course of justice by submitting a false psychology report. The judiciary are currently consulting on whether to restrict the role Mackenzies can play in court and ban them from recovering their costs.
We've come rather a long way from the original Good Samaritan role. The industry that is growing up with those that are providing at a cost legal advice, conducting litigation, that was something that was never envisaged. My clear view about that is that the protection of the consumer requires that should not be allowed to develop in an uncontrolled way. And I know that the judiciary, who have first-hand experience of this, are concerned about it.
But Mackenzies like Nicola are clear that if they can't earn a living, then it's the justice system that will lose out.
It would probably put a lot of very efficient and effective and honest professional Mackenzie friends out of business. And of course that's bad for the litigant in person. It's bad for everybody, especially given there's no real support out there. So what's the alternative?